Ask and you shall receive. I've seen a lot asking about my top pick for the best damage dealer Warframes in the game. So, here it is. In this video, you will see all the frames that I consider at the top when it comes to dealing damage. But take note that this list is subjective, and only based on my opinion. If you have a different opinion about any frame, then feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Also, I try to rank the frames from good to the best damage dealer in the game. And lastly, I would like to take a couple of minutes of your time, and share with you the best thing that ever happened to my PC. It made browsing the internet a lot secure, convenient, and very stylish, which suits my gaming lifestyle. I'm talking about Opera GX. The browser that is made for us gamers. As a gamer, I know that you value performance and you don't want to end up overusing your CPU and using too much RAM when using a browser. With Opera GX's amazing GX control feature, not only that you can limit your RAM usage, but it also features a network limiter that limits the network bandwidth used by the Opera GX browser to gain performance in games and streams. So, you don't need to worry about lags while playing Warframe while browsing the internet with Opera GX. This browser also comes along with the GX Corner, which allows you to stay up to date with free games, the best deals, the newest releases, and breaking gaming news all in one easily accessible place. It also has Twitch and Discord integration menus, and you can simply log into your Twitch accounts directly from the sidebar and get notifications when a streamer you follow is streaming. Best of all, Opera GX is fully customizable, and you can customize the browser with special themes, wallpapers, and colors that you like. Also, it has a hot tab killer that identify the most resource-draining tabs and close them to make sure the browser doesn't overburden the PC or laptop, a cleaner that removes old junk files, a free VPN feature, an ad blocker, and many more features that all gamers will surely enjoy. Honestly, I stopped using my old browser after I found out about Opera GX. It's the best browser for gamers, and I highly recommend that you switch now. This browser is free to download, and you can check it out by simply clicking the link I have provided in the video description and pinned comment below. Download it now and feel the ultimate gaming browser experience. Okay, now let's begin with the first Warframe, Mesa. I know some of you consider Mesa as one of the top DPS Warframe, but please try to hear me out for a few seconds. Mesa's Peacemaker is great when it comes to killing multiple targets in just a few seconds, bounty missions in open world areas, and as well as defense and extermination missions in a normal star chart are just a walk in the park for Mesa. However, I did not include this frame on the top of the list because of one problem. She becomes a sitting duck when she is using her Peacemaker. She indeed got an augment to move around while using her fourth ability, but that doesn't stop enemies from hitting her. The 95% damage reduction from Shatter Shield won't be enough to tank enemy damage, especially at high level missions like Steel Path. Most likely, you will need to have some decent range also in your build to somehow add crowd control in your setup. That would end up losing some firepower, and it would take some time to kill a couple of armored enemies in a real mission than what you are usually seeing in the testing room. However, in team composition wherein you decide to bring corrosive projection setup, or even a gaze Skeleto Warframe, or any other means that will strip armor and shields, then Mesa could be the top DPS in your team. Long story short, I often don't like to go with Mesa in solo high-level plays, but she is very great in team DPS. I am using Ivara's Quiver with the help of the Helminth system, just to make Mesa invisible. This allows me to safely kill enemies while using Peacemaker. The next Warframe is Cora. Despite the recent nerf on her Whip Claw, Cora remains a good DPS frame in my handbook. Her first ability can amass a massive damage boost because it can take advantage of any melee mods, including those Acolyte mods like Weeping Wounds and Blood Rush that boosts status chance and critical chance respectively. In addition to that, Cora can add her accumulating Whip Claw augment, which gives out 350% bonus damage to Whip Claw. You don't need any high power strength in your build, and you can give Cora a decent range for both survivability and grouping enemies in one place. Whip Claw can deal decent damage against high level enemies with just the normal melee mods. However, if you want to push its damage to the next level, then you will need to have a good melee stat stick. You can choose between the Mire and the Jaw Sword, since these melee weapons have a good Riven disposition. For the Riven stats, I suggest going for critical chance and melee damage. These stats will be the top priority, as this would make your Riven great for Whip Claw, and can also be a great stat stick for our next DPS frame, Atlas. Yes, I'm a noob for saying that Atlas is great when it comes to dealing damage, but based on my experience, Atlas' landslide ability can deal massive damage even to higher level enemies. It's even superior to Mesa's Peacemaker, given the right build and setup. Most of the time, I can kill a group of enemies faster with landslide, given that I'm at a 12 times combo multiplier, and I'm using my Devastator Atlas combo. I got no issue in just normally punching enemies in the room, but grouping them with Ensnare first, then applying viral status gives more damage output in my opinion. It's also easy to keep the life support in survival missions since you don't need to run around killing enemies. Ensnare is the best thing that ever happens to Atlas so far. The same goes with the Rubble Heap Augment. If you can constantly kill a group of enemies while they are petrified, then you can deal more massive damage from landslide, and each punch will not cost any energy. In terms of my pseudo build, it's the same status oriented with viral damage on it. While for the stat stick, I prefer Jaw Sword over Maya since it can equip multiple melee damage mods. You can go take advantage of the melee damage mods from Primed Pressure Point, from your Riven if you have one, and from the Blade of Truth which is only exclusive for the Jaw Sword. The last frame on my good list is Baroque. This frame was buff big time in terms of damage when his reactive storm augment came out. His damage output on his ultimate ability became destructive because of the augment giving it more status chance. Not only does it gives more status chance, but it also lets the Desert Wind adapt to the damage weakness of an enemy. On top of that, the ability has a good range which lets you airbend enemies to their death. I have a couple of build variants for Baroque in this channel, and you can watch them later. But to give you the basics, you will need the reactive storm augment, lots of power strength, and some range to make this monk frame a beast. Okay, we are finally done with the good damage dealers. Now, let's move on to the top tier frames. These frames are those who can demolish high level enemies no matter how high their level scale. Okay, let's reveal the first frame. For this god tier damage list, I would pick Mag first. Some players don't like Mag in the past because of how squishy this frame is, but with the recent addition of shield gating, this Warframe has become better in terms of survivability. The only thing that did not change with Mag is her power to wipe out a crowd of high-level enemies with the use of her Magnetize. She may not have any ability that can wipe out enemies, but her Magnetize does amplify the damage of either pistol and primary weapons. Then, it can turn into a good nuking ability once Magnetize expires. For some players, Mag is just a meme frame, but for me, she is one of the best damage dealer. If you want to try this frame, then I have one combo for her that will showcase how powerful this frame is. All you need is to give this build a try. This build has enough range and power for Magnetize, and it allows you to strip armor with the help of Fracturing Crush and your Polarize ability, and then, try to shoot the secondary fire of Cyan X into enemies that are grouped by Magnetize. Get back to this video and tell me what happens to the enemies. The next Warframe is Banshee. I can't do a damage list video without including the Warframe that can let you hit 1 billion damage in the game. Like Mag, this frame doesn't have any abilities that can deal massive damage, but she can multiply the damage you deal by 10 folds, hence why you can achieve 1 billion damage with the right setup. Sonar is the ability that I'm talking about, and this is by far the best damage buffer in the game. There are tons of builds in this channel for the Banshee, ranging from a finisher build which gives you 1 billion damage, to a buffer armor strip setup. You can check them out later, but here's a build I'm currently using for high-level missions. This was suggested by one of my friend, and I've been running this shooting gallery Banshee for quite a while now, especially in higher-level missions like Steel Path. Moving on, we got Garro the Glass Queen. She may look easy to break, but Garro is one of the best when it comes to both offense and defense. Her Splinter Storm is what makes her shine bright like a diamond. It gives you a 90% damage reduction, and it has one of the best true damage in the game. Right now, you can actually stack over 1 million splinter damage easily using a Mirage Eclipse build setup. Mirage Eclipse increases the damage dealt by her first ability, and once you use it to break the glass from your Mass Vitrify, the damage it can stack will be much higher. Also, Combo Counter does affect the stack damage of your Splinter Storm now. This is why I included Reflex Guard on my build, since it's the best way to gain and maintain your combo counter. At 12 times combo counter, with Mirage Eclipse, you will get more damage stack from breaking Mass Vitrify with Shattered Lash. Lastly, you will need a good stat stick, and for Garro, I usually use the Jaw Sword to stack more damage mods on it. The next Warframe is Excalibur, but Would you believe me that this frame can be a great DPS without the chromatic blade augment? It's true, and so far, Excalibur's Exalted Blade deals some nasty damage with the right build and setup. The Exalted Blade build is the same condition overload setup, with all the usual mods to further increase its damage. But, the build I'm using for Excalibur is a bit different now. It has no chromatic blade augment, and it uses the subsumed ability of Cora called Ensnare. So how is it possible to obliterate enemies with Exalted Blade without any status chance buff? First, Melee 3.0 does allow you to switch from your Exalted Blade to either your primary or secondary. Secondly, you can use either Ceto or Kuvanuka to proc tons of status on the enemies, which will give your condition overload Exalted Blade a huge damage boost. The amount of status that Ceto can proc on enemies trapped in Ensnare will be more than enough to kill them, giving you more mod space for the mod of your choice. So far, this is the highest damaging Excalibur build I have on my arsenal, and it's great once in a while that you don't have to use the past meta builds for this frame. Now we are down to my top 3, and for my third best damage dealer Warframe, I would give this award to Sarin. Normal or high level missions, Sarin Spore's ability is completely a powerful ability since it allows you to kill a room full of enemies in just a few seconds. Plus, the damage of the spores does scale depending on how many targets are infected, and it ramps up quickly, especially in Steel Path missions wherein there are tons of enemies. She is not called Nuka Queen for nothing. If spores is not enough, then she also has her miasma, which deals viral damage. It's also a very wide area of effectability that combines well with spores. The moment you cast miasma, it's either enemy take more damage from spores, or they die instantly. The only thing that's lacking with Sarin is a reliable source of survivability in high-level missions, going against level 1000 enemies. It will take a lot of effort, jumping, parkour, evasion, and hiding, since she doesn't have either an invincibility frame, or invisibility, so you won't take any damage from enemies. Nonetheless, Sarin is very good in terms of DPS. She is one of the best when it comes to dealing damage, and I'm not saying that she sucks in surviving. She can be tanky, but only in mid to level 100 levels. Well, unless you abuse shield gating with pillage, of course, or have rolling guard in your build. The second top damage dealing Warframe in my list is Ksaku. Well, Martyr Symbiosis Immortality trick is now gone, as it seems that there was a bug on that combo. Digital Extremes fix it, but this doesn't mean that Skeleto is not a level 9999 killer anymore. Remember that you can still use Skeleto's Grasp of Lock, and it can still fire projectiles when you are hiding in your operator void mode. It's like getting back to the original strategy of using Zanuric's Void Singularity pull while in void mode, and pulling enemies in the process to get them in range of Grasp of Lock. Anyway, Skeleto is still one of my top DPS frames because of their gaze ability and Grasp of Lock. It's a combination that can kill level 9999 enemies without breaking a sweat. Gaze has the power to remove all defenses, both shield and armor, while Grasp of Lock void damage will 1 or 2 shots level 9999 enemies that were stripped out of their defenses. It's the perfect combination, and in my opinion, Skeleto is one of those frames which you can take in long hours of survival endurance if you have the interest in doing so. The final frame, and without a doubt the best DPS frame in the game, is Octavia Prime. I mean, just Octavia, as we are still waiting for a couple of days before we get our hands on her Prime version. Octavia has the best DPS ability in the game called Mallet. This ability's damage scales with enemy levels easily, and how much damage the enemies deal with Mallet, this thing will return it 3 times or even 8 times depending on how much power strength you equip in your Octavia build. But honestly, you don't need that much power strength, as even 3 times bonus damage multiplier will wreck even level 9999 enemies easily. With the current condition of level scaling, Octavia will have no problem destroying level 9999 enemies with her Mallet ability. You will not even run into any problems running her solo, since she got a reliable source of survivability. Her metronome has the sub-ability to make her invisible permanently, and this is why Octavia is the greatest when it comes to long endurance runs. It's kind of sad though, since only if you use her even with the power she possesses. Don't get me wrong, Octavia can be used in any missions, whether it's exterminate or defense type missions. The only problem is, there are better frames for the job, and you can only see her full potential in long endurance runs, which is another problem. Only a few in the community like to do long endurance runs. She was great in isolation vaults, but Digital Extremes removed that capability to cheese the corn bots in the vault. Well, I guess I'm back to composing songs with her Mandaccord. Now, take note that all that you have seen in this video are the frames that I deemed the top when it comes to dealing damage. I'm not saying that these are the only frames, as you can make specific frames do a lot of damage with the right setup. For example, you can do a lot of nuking with Assimilate Nyx. Revenant can also one-shot those enemies that are enthralled with his Reave ability. Equinox can also nuke, and even Vauban can wipe out a group of enemies that incite his vortex. However, the frames that you see here are beyond good levels and their damage can easily be achieved with the right setup. You don't need any fancy trick to make them do damage, just mod them right, and you will destroy enemies easily. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe for more Warframe content. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.
This is the future. Human error. Evolution. This is the future.